Hello everyone and welcome back to our virtual Mishnah Berurah here. We're holding the Mishnah Berurah Chelik Aleph. We are continuing to learn Hilchos Tzitzis. And, excuse me, today, Mirz Hashem, we will be learning Daf Tez Zayin Amud Aleph. So we pick up in Siman Ches, in the midst of Sif Yud Dalid, on Tes Vav Amud Beis, in the middle of the words of the Ramah. So to recap what we have seen so far here in Sif Yud Dalid, the Mechaber discussed a case of somebody who made a berachah, put on a tallis, and now he removed his tallis, and he intends to put the tallis back on again. Yesterday we saw two shittas. We saw the opinion of the Mechaber, and then we saw the first opinion brought down by the Ramah, which was the opinion of the Ogur. The Mechaber said, you took off your tallis and you intend on putting it right back on. It doesn't matter. The Mechaber holds, you took off your tallis despite the fact that when you took it off, you had very clear intent that you were going to put it right back on again. And the Mishnah Berurah tells us, even if you're still wearing a tallis cotton, so you're still engaged in the performance of the mitzvah of tzitzis, still in all, the Mechaber holds, you took off your tallis, you want to put it back on, you have to make another bracha. And we explained that the rationale of the Mechaber is simple. The Mechaber holds that when you made a bracha and you put on your tallis, you made a bracha on a mitzvah, you began to perform the mitzvah. When you went ahead and you took the tallis off, you finished performing the mitzvah. You removed the tallis. The mitzvah is gone. Now you want to put the tallis back on again. Okay, you put on the tallis back on, you're starting the performance of a new mitzvah. So you have to make a bracha again. That was the shita of the Mechaber. Along came the Ramah, and the Ramah brought down the shita of the Ogur. The Ogur says, no, you took off your tallis, but you had das to put it right back on. The fact that you had das to put the tallis right back on makes that when you removed the tallis, it is halachically as if you never removed it. We don't look at it that you removed your tallis. We said over from the Rabbi Kiva Hager in Hilchos Tzitzis, we said over that the Ogur holds that if you were wearing a tallis, you're performing the mitzvah, and you took off the tallis just for a short while, and when you took it off, you had intent that you're putting it right back on again, and you weren't mesiach das, and you didn't wait a very significant length of time before you put it back on. So the Ogur holds it's as if you were continuously wearing it. We don't say that you ended the performance of the mitzvah. No, we look at it that it's as if you were continuously wearing the tallis. The mitzvah did not leave you, and therefore the Ramah said in the name of the Ogur that no, you don't have to make a bracha. You had das that you're going to put it right back on. You don't have to make another bracha. And the Mishnah Berurah said, that's true even if you're not wearing a tallis cotton. So really, when you took the tallis off, you weren't performing the mitzvah of tzitzis at all. Still in all, since you had kavana, you had intent, you had das, that you're going to put the tallis right back on, and there really was no half-sick, it's okay. It's as if you were continuously wearing it, and you don't have to make another bracha. And as far as a hefsek is concerned, we actually learned in the Mishnah Berurah yesterday that this is true even if you left the shul to go out to the Beis HaKisei. So there actually was a hefsek, there was a shinu makom. Still in all, according to this sheet of the Ramah, according to the Ogur, since you had das to put the tallis right back on, and since all you're doing is continuing the mitzvah that you had already started to perform earlier, you're just putting the same beged back on. So even though you had a shinu makom, since you had das to put the tallis right back on, you do not have to make another bracha. Those are the two shittas that we saw yesterday. Now today we have a third shitta. Now when we read the words of the third shitta and we see what the Mishnah Berurah is going to say, at first it's going to take us by surprise, because yesterday the Mishnah Berurah said that the achronim, if you take a look at the beginning of Eis Katan Lamed Zayin, it says v'chein pasku ha'achronim. He brings down over here, if you look at Sharetzion Eis Katan Nun Beis, he brings down for the Bach, the Tamid, the Taz, the Yerabba, and other achronim. He says that the achronim paskin like the Yeshomrim of the Ramah in the name of the Ogur, that as long as you had das to put the tallis right back on, it's as if you never removed it, and you do not have to make another bracha. Now, we're on Tezvav Amud Beis, 2 lines from the bottom, near the end of the line. Now we have another Yeshomrim, and this is going, well, actually, who is this from? I don't see it attributed here to anyone. Okay, so the Yeshomrim, 2 lines from the bottom, near the end of the line. The Yeshomrim, says the Ramah, some say, when is this true, that you do not have to make another bracha? Dafka kishenishar alav tallis cotton. Only if you were still wearing the tallis cotton, and the Ramah says v'hachi noyagin. And that's the way we're noyig, says the Ramah. So this third sheet of the Ramah, at face value, seems to say, the Ogur says that you took off the tallis, you had das to put the tallis right back on. You don't have to make another bracha. It sounds like now the Ramah is bringing another Yeshomrim that qualifies that. When is that true? It's true if you were wearing a tallis cotton. If you were wearing a tallis cotton, you're still engaged in the performance of the mitzvah of tzitzis. That's when it's true that if you had das to put the tallis right back on, you don't have to make another bracha. But if you weren't wearing a tallis cotton, then it sounds like you would have to make another bracha. If you learn this Yeshomrim in that way, then this Yeshomrim is very clearly arguing on the first Yeshomrim of the Ramah in the name of the Ogur. But the Mishnah Berurah is going to say that that's not how to learn this last Yeshomrim. The Mishnah Berurah is going to tell us that this Yeshomrim is actually talking about a slightly different case. This Yeshomrim is not talking about a case where you took off your tallis and you had das to put it right back on. This Yeshomrim, says the Mishnah Berurah, and it's a little hard to reconcile how the Ramah wrote this, but this is what the Mishnah Berurah says. The Mishnah Berurah says that this Yeshomrim is addressing a different case. This Yeshomrim is addressing a case where you didn't have das to put the tallis right back on. This Yeshomrim is addressing a case where you took off your tallis stam. You took off your tallis without any clear intent. You didn't have intent to put it right back on. You didn't have intent that you're not putting it right back on. You took it off, and then you're going to decide what you're going to do. In that case, says this Yeshomrim, the presence of the tallis cotton, if you're wearing a tallis cotton, the tallis cotton could save you. Because since you took off the tallis gadol without any clear intent, so we don't know what you were thinking. Were you planning on putting it right back on? Were you not? In that case, if you're wearing a tallis cotton, now the tallis cotton will be the Yavei HaKasav HaShlishli V'Achriya Beineim. The tallis cotton will be the deciding factor. Since you're wearing a tallis cotton and you never really ceased the performance of the mitzvah of tzitzis, we'll say that you don't have to make another bracha. But if you're not wearing the tallis cotton, then you didn't have clear das to put the tallis right back on. You stopped being engaged in the mitzvah of tzitzis. So in that case, this Yeshomrim holds, you would have to make another bracha. Now the Mishnah Berurah is going to say that the Achronim paskin like this Yeshomrim, right? So that's what, at first glance, what do you mean? Yesterday in Oiskat Lamed Zayin, the Mishnah Berurah told me that the Achronim paskin like yesterday's Yeshomrim, like the Ogur. So how could you tell me now that the Achronim paskin like this third shita? Because the second shita and the third shita are not discussing the same thing. Now we're going to see this inside in a minute, but just to be clear, it comes out like this. The Mechaber was discussing a case where somebody took off the tallis with clear intent to put it right back on. Over there, we have 2 shitas. We have the shita of the Mechaber. The Mechaber holds, despite the fact that you had clear intent to put the tallis right back on, and even despite the fact that you're wearing a tallis cotton, still and all, since you took the tallis gadol off, az the mitzvah, the mitzvah is gone, and you want to put the tallis back on, you have to make a new bracha. That was the sheet of the Mechaber. Came along the Ramah in the name of the Ogur, and the Ramah was chaylik on the Mechaber. And the Ramah said, no, yesh oimrim, that since you had clear das to put the tallis right back on, it's as if you never removed the tallis, and therefore you do not make another bracha, as long as you're going to put it right back on. And that's even true if you weren't wearing a tallis cotton. Said the Mishnah Berurah, the Achronim paskin like that yesh oimrim. So halacha lamaisa, you in the middle of davening, you take off your tallis gadol, you have to go out to the Beis HaKisei, you have das, and we're going to see today that you really don't even have to have this das if you're in the middle of davening. You had das that you're going to put the tallis right back on. You come back from the Beis HaKisei, you put the tallis on without making a new bracha. Now today we have another yesh oimrim in the Ramah, but this yesh oimrim is discussing a slightly different case. What happens if when you took the tallis off, you did not have clear das? When you took the tallis off, you took it off stam, you took it off without thinking. In that case, the arbiter is going to be the tallis cotton. If you're wearing a tallis cotton, you're still engaged in the performance of the mitzvah, you do not need a new bracha. If you're not wearing a tallis cotton, you're no longer engaged in the mitzvah of tzitzis, and you didn't have clear das that you're going to put the tallis right back on, you have to make a new bracha. And the Mishnah Berurah is going to tell us that the Achronim paskin like this yesh oimrim as well. But this yesh oimrim is only addressing a case where you did not have clear das. That's not what we were speaking about yesterday. In the earlier two shittas, we were speaking about where you did have clear das. You had clear das to put the tallis right back on again. Now, even though we're going to see this inside later in this year, I just want to mention it now, and that is we're going to learn later in the Mishnah Berurah that this question of did you have clear das or not doesn't pertain to every case. The Mishnah Berurah is going to tell us that if you took off your tallis in middle of davening, then even if you took off the tallis stam without having beferish das that you're going to put it back on again, min hastam your das is that you're going to put it back on again because you're in the middle of davening. Obviously, if you're in the middle of davening, you're going to put the tallis back on again. So there's a case where even though you did not have clear das, it is as if you did. So again, the halacha would be, you take off your tallis in the middle of davening, you didn't have clear das, we don't have to worry about the third shita. We don't have to worry about today's yesh oimrim of the Ramah, because since you're in the middle of davening, we consider it that you had clear das, that you're going to put your tallis right back on again. It falls under the rubric of what we learned yesterday, and we paskin like the second yesh oimrim in the Ramah, that since you had das, it's considered that you had das, that you're going to put the tallis right back on, and you did so, you are putting it right back on, you do not make another bracha. So now let's see this inside in the Mishnah Berurah. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Ois Katan Lamed Ches. Bottom line in the Mishnah Berurah, on Tesvav Amid Beis. Dafka Kishe Nishar. This yesh oimrim said, when do we say that you do not have to make another bracha? That's only if you are wearing a tallis cotton. Ha'achronim pasku ka yesh oimrim hazeh. The achronim actually paskin like this third shita, which is not really a third shita, but it's the third shita brought down in Sif Yod Dalet. But, says the Mishnah Berurah, however, the maske, they reached the conclusion, and in this the Mishnah Berurah is quoting the Bach, the Magen Avram, and the Gra, the Achronim reached the conclusion that this yesh oimrim is not addressing the same case as yesterday's two shitas. The hayesh oimrim hazeh loy ayri rakish pashat atalis haya bistama. This yesh oimrim is addressing a case where when the gentleman took off his tallis, he did it min hastam. He did it without having clear das that he's going to put it right back on. Lachain, and therefore, Amrinon, in this case, yet we say that the arbiter is the presence of the tallis cotton. De'im nishar alav tallis cotton, if the person is still wearing a tallis cotton, adayin lo yisiach taitoi min mitzvah. He's still engaged in the performance of the mitzvah of tzitzis, so it's considered as if he was never misiach das from the mitzvah. Uve'im lav, but if he's not wearing a tallis cotton, mistama hisiach taitoi, then if he took it off min hastam, and he's not wearing a tallis cotton anymore, then we assume he was misiach das and he needs a new bracha. Aval, however, if we go back to yesterday's case, Aval, im hayadaitoi beferish lachzor lolav miyad. If we're talking about a case where when the person took off the tallis, he had clear intent to put it right back on, Ein tzarich lachzor levarich kishalov shemiyad. Then he does not have to make another bracha like the Yesharim that we saw yesterday in the name of the Ogur. Afilu loy nishar alav tallis cotton, even if he's not wearing a tallis cotton, because since he had das to put the tallis right back on, it's as if he never removed it. V'chein lehepech. And so too the other way, loy mahani tallis cotton, the tallis cotton is not going to save you, u'kamoisha kasavnu lamayla, like we learned earlier. The presence of the tallis cotton is not going to save you if you had das that you're not putting the tallis right back on. V'nira, and it would seem, the impashat oisai b'saychat tefillah, now the Mishnah Berurah tells you what I just said a few minutes ago. V'nira, and it would seem, the impashat oisai b'saychat tefillah, that whenever somebody removes his tallis in the middle of davening, afilu b'stama, even if he takes off the tallis stam, without him having any clear das, heavy k'moshe pashat oisai al das lachzar, that is as if he had clear das to put it right back on. Why? Because it's the middle of davening. Obviously, you're going to put the tallis back on. V'chein, and similarly, we can have a case the other way. In kiplai, if somebody took off his tallis and he folded it up and he put it in the tallis zekel, v'chein in kiplai, if somebody folded up his tallis v'nichai b'sach kisai and he puts it into the tallis zekel, heavy k'moshe pasharai say b'ferish al das shaloi lachzar. Even if he didn't have das, I'm not putting it on again. Obviously, if he folded it up and he put it in the bag, he's not putting it on again. Okay. Now we go to Sif Tezvav, which is actually on the bottom line of Daf Tezvav Amid Beis. It begins, and this is a little bit of a segue, but into a similar shiloh. And this happens quite often. I've seen this happen many times. Im nafla talisai shaloi b'miskaven. We've been discussing what happens if you remove your tallis. But what if you did not remove your tallis? What if your tallis fell off? What if you're walking through a doorway and your tallis snags on something and it gets yanked off? Or your tallis just falls off. Shaloi b'miskaven, without any intent on your part. V'chayzer u'misatef, and now you want to put the tallis back on. Tzarich levarich, you have to make a new bracha. But the Mechaber qualifies this, and he says, V'hu shenafla kula. But that's only true if the tallis fell off completely. Avalim loy nafla kula, if it did not fall completely off, afa pisha nafla ruba, even if it fell the majority of the way off of your body, einoy tzarek levarech, you do not have to make a new bracha. So what did the Mechaber say here in Sif Tezvav? What happens if your tallis falls off? You did not remove it; it fell off. One minute you're wearing your tallis, and suddenly it snagged on something. Your tallis is gone. Your tallis fell off. Says the Mechaber, if it fell off completely, you want to put it back on, you have to make a new bracha. Excuse me. If it fell off a majority of the way, but it remained partially on, then the Mechaber says you do not need a new bracha. Let's take a look at what's at work over here. Mishnah Berurah is cotton lamites. Shaloi b'miskaven. The tallis fell off without any intent on your part. Afilu lamad de paskinon. Even according to this that we paskin, the beheser talisay al das lahaksiroi ein tzarek levarich. Even though we just saw that the achrayim paskin, like the Yeshaimrim, the first Yeshaimrim of the Ramah in the previous Sif, the opinion of the Ogur, that when you remove your tallis, if you removed it with das to put it right back on, you do not have to make a new bracha. It says now the Mishnah Berurah kind of applies that to our case here, and he says like this: even though we paskin that if you remove your tallis with das to put it right back on, you do not need to make a new bracha when you put it back on. Bazeh, in our case today, when the tallis fell off without any kavanah on your part, gara yoser, that's much worse. Why? The beheser talisay al das lach zirai ain't tzarich levar. I'm sorry, I went back a line. The hanafla beloy das, because in today's case, the tallis fell off without any das on your part. In yesterday's case, your das that you're removing the tallis al das to put it right back on, your das makes it as if you never removed the tallis. Because yes, you removed the tallis. But what was your das when you removed the tallis? Your das was to put it right back on. So like Rabbi Kiva Eger said, it's as if you never took it off. But in today's case, you had no das. You didn't take the tallis off. The tallis fell off. It fell off, says the Mishnah Berurah, as the la mitzvasa. The mitzvah ended. You had no das to save the day. Yesterday, you had das to put the tallis right back on. That saved the connection to the bracha. But in today's case, the tallis fell off without any kavanah on your part. There was no das present to save the connection to the bracha. The mitzvah is over, and the connection to the bracha was severed. You want to put the tallis back on, you need a new bracha. And even if you're still wearing a tallis cotton, that is not going to help. Ois cotton mem, therefore tzarich levarech, you have to make a new bracha. Even if you put the tallis immediately back on. A lot of people are not aware of this halacha. I've seen many times where a person's tallis fell off, he just grabs it and put it right back on. You got to make a new bracha. Let's say your tallis fell off in the middle of Shemona Esrei. Now you should know the halacha is if your tallis falls off in the middle of Shemona Esrei, you're really not allowed to bend down and pick it back up again. You're standing l'ftei melech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There are those shittas that hold that even if your tallis slips off of your shoulder, you're really not supposed to take it and put it back on your shoulder in the middle of Shemona Esrei. You're standing speaking in front of Melech Malchei HaMlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You don't get distracted by putting on your tallis. So the Mishnah Berurah says over here, if your tallis fell off in the middle of Shemona Esrei, and you know what happened? Verziru acherim olav. Somebody who saw your tallis fall off, and he realizes that you can't put the tallis back on, so he came, he picked up your tallis very nicely, and he put it back on you. What do you do now? We just learned the halacha that if your tallis falls completely off, you have to make a new bracha. Your tallis fell off, really you're chayav to make a new bracha. But now somebody put the tallis back on you. What do you do now? Says the Mishnah Berurah, Yisayim Tfilah Shemona Esrei, when you finish Shemona Esrei, Yemashmesh Tzitzis, you should handle the tzitzis v'yavarech, and make a bracha. Ois cut mem aleph, this halacha is true. This halacha is only true. You only have to make a new bracha if the tallis fell off completely, but not if it fell off only partially, even if it fell off the majority of the way. The Taz and the Rabba disagree with the Mechaber on this point. And the Gra also leans towards paskening like the Taz, and they say that if the tallis fell off the majority of the way, you do need to make a new bracha. However, everybody agrees, if the tallis fell off completely off of your body, but you caught it with your hand, even though it's still in your hand, tzarich levarich, you have to make a bracha, because the mitzvah ended. Why? She'ikr mitzvahs itov hu baguf. Because atifa b'tzitzis means that the tallis is wrapped on your body, not that you're holding it in your hand. In berachah ala tallis, what happens if you make a bracha on the tallis? So you're holding up your tallis, and then you drop your tallis. So you made the bracha, but you never got to put it on. What do you do then? In berachah ala tallis v'nafa miyadai kaidem shenisatif by v'igbiya, and now you picked it up, levasha, and you put it on. Ain't sark levar shenis. You do not have to make a new bracha. Va'afilu nifsalu az tzitziyasav. Let's make the case even more complicated. Let's say you made the bracha, you never got to put the tallis on, you dropped the tallis, you go to pick it up again, and somebody was standing on the strings, and you ripped the strings. So now, you made a bracha, you didn't put on the tallis, and now guess what? It's puzzled. The string's ripped. Guess what? You have strings with you. V'tikna miyad, and you immediately fix the tallis. Ein sark levar shenis. You do not have to make a new bracha. Why? Explains the Chavetz Chaim, because in these cases you didn't do the mitzvah yet. You made the bracha and you didn't do the mitzvah yet. So you never misiach das. You made a bracha to do a mitzvah, you didn't accomplish the mitzvah yet. Clearly you still have your mind on doing the mitzvah. Just the problem is you dropped the tallis, so you got to pick it up. So yeah, normally a bracha is supposed to be over la siyasai, not over la'asiyasa. You're supposed to do it as close to the accomplishment of the mitzvah as possible. That's why we make the bracha when we're holding the tallis and we're about to put it on. We don't make the bracha while the tallis is still folded. So you have a problem. You made the bracha, then you dropped the tallis. So now you have to pick it up. So now the performance of the mitzvah is going to be a little bit more distanced from the bracha. But you aren't Mesiach Das, you're still being Isaac in fulfilling the mitzvah. You went to pick up the tallis and the string ripped off and it became puzzle, but you have tzitzis right there, so you're going to put them on the beged. You're still being Isaac in the mitzvah, so you don't lose the bracha. We discuss a similar case in regards to Hilchos Tzitzis. Continues the Chafetz Chaim, somebody who picks up a tallis to be misatev and do the mitzvah, and he starts making the bracha. This is a weird case. You take the tallis, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvaysav v'tzivanu, and now somebody grabs the tallis from you, and now you don't have a tallis. You look around, you don't want to be Meisi Shem Shema of HaTorah, and your tefillin are right in front of you. So you say, Lo haniach tefillin. And normally that doesn't work, because normally when we say the Shem and Malchus, we have to have in mind what bracha we're making it on. Over here the Mishnah Berurah says, Yachal l'sayim ha-bracha, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvaysav v'tzivanu lo haniach tefillin, v'yotzei bazeh, and you are yotzeh. Okay, now we go to Sif Cotton Tes Zion. Says the Mishnah Berurah. Very interesting. Says the Mishnah Berurah. Halon b'talisai balayla. Somebody sleeps wearing his tallis at night. Now this doesn't have to be the tallis. It could be your tallis cotton. Somebody was exhausted when he came home. He went to sleep. He was wearing his tallis cotton the whole night. Halon b'talisai balayla. Somebody sleeps in his tallis cotton or his tallis gadol the whole night. Now he wakes up in the morning, and he's still wearing his tallis cotton. Does he make a new bracha? Says the Mechaber, Tzarich levarich alav b'boker, he has to make a new bracha on it in the morning, af im loy pishatai, even if he did not remove it. V'toiv lemashmesh b'y b'shas habracha, but it would be proper to be memashmesh, to handle the tzitzits when you make the bracha. So again, what happened here? Normally you wake up in the morning, you're not being Isaac in the midst of tzitzis. You're not wearing a beged of daled kanfas. You go to put on a beged of daled kanfas that is properly affixed with tzitzits. So you're going now to perform the mitzvah of tzitzits. So you make a bracha before you put on the tallis cotton. But over here you had a strange case. You went to sleep wearing the tallis cotton. When you wake up in the morning, you're still wearing the tallis cotton. Do you make a new bracha? Do you have to remove the tallis cotton first to put it back on? Says the Mechaber, no. Leave the tallis cotton on you and make a bracha. But it would be good to handle the tzitzits when you make the bracha. Let's see the Mishnah Berurah. Let's see what's behind this. Ois cotton mem beis, tzarech levarech. You have to make a bracha. Why? The kaimalon laila lavzman tzitzitzu. Because we paskin that night is not a time for the kiyum of the mitzvah of tzitzis. There's a very basic machlokes rishonim over here. Famous machlokes, the Rambam and the Rosh. We learn out from the pasuk that Laila is not a zman for the mitzvah tzitzis. The question is, how do we understand that? The way the Rambam understands it, the Rambam understands it that at night there is no chiyuv of tzitzis. According to the Rambam, you could wear a beged of daled kanfos at night without tzitzis on it. Because Laila loves man tzitzis. You know what that means? It means at night there is no mitzvah of tzitzis. You could put on as many begadim of daled kanfos at night as you want, and you don't have to wear tzitzis. According to the Rosh, that's not what it means. According to the Rosh, what it means is a beged shel Laila, a nighttime garment, has no chiyuv of tzitzis. So you have pajamas of daled kanfos that are only meant to be worn at night. Pajamas of daled kanfos do not require tzitzis, because a beged shalayla is potter in tzitzits. But if you're wearing a beged shel yoim at night, you're wearing your tallis cotton at night, there is a chiyuv of tzitzis. Now this machlokes the Rambam and the Rosh has direct implications on the halacha that we just learned. Why? Because what's the shaila that we're questioning? What happens if you slept in your tallis cotton. Now your tallis cotton is a beged shel yoim. It's a daytime beged. According to the Rush, the entire time that you were sleeping in your tallis cotton was chayiv in tzitzis. So that means that the entire night you were being oisik in the mitzvah of tzitzis. So now when you wake up in the morning and you're still wearing your tallis cotton, you can't make a new bracha. It was covered by yesterday's bracha. You never took it off. So how could you make a new bracha? But according to the Rambam, when night fell last night and you were wearing your tallis cotton, you entered into the night. At night, there is no chiyuv of tzitzis. So when you were wearing your tallis cotton overnight, were you being mekayim the mitzvah of tzitzis? No, there is no mitzvah of tzitzis at night. So according to the Rambam, when you wake up in the morning and you're wearing a tallis cotton, you can make a bracha. And indeed, you have to make a bracha. Because now in the morning, you began to be mekayim the mitzvah of tzitzis. At night, you are not being mekayim the mitzvah of tzitzis. So you need a bracha. The Mechaber paskins like the Rambam, as is his wont. He usually paskins like the Rambam. So here too, the Mechaber is paskining like the Rambam. You slept in the tallis cotton, you got to make a bracha on the tzitzis in the morning. And that's what the Mishnah Berurah means here. To kaimulon, because we paskin like the Rambam, that laila lavzman tzitzitzu. That at night there is no chiyuv of tzitzits, the heavy hefsik. And therefore the night is a hefsik in the mitzvah. And in the morning you make a bracha. V'yesh cholkin bazeh. However, we have the Rush who disagrees with this. What does that mean to us? What it means to us is when we have a machlokes rishonim, whether or not you should make a bracha, that creates a suffix bracha lahakal. Says the Mishnah Berurah, what's v'yesh cholkin bazeh? The Rush disagrees with this Rambam. Kevan d'ksus yoim chayiv af balayla l'das mikzas hapoiskim ukid l'chaman b'simin yud ches. Because according to the Rush, a beged yoim, ksus yoim, is chayiv in tzitzits at night. It's not that night has no chiyuv of tzitzits. It's that ksus laila, a nighttime garment, has no chiyuv of tzitzits. But a ksus yoim has a chiyuv of tzitzits. So there was no hefsik. V'savik brachas lahakal. Nevertheless, says the Mishnah Berurah, nachayin lechavin lifter sabbat talis gadol. So what the Mishnah Berurah is saying is like this. Even though the Mechaber paskins that in such a case you make a bracha in the morning, we're worried about the sheet of the Rush. Therefore, we have a problem of savik brachas lahakol, so you do not make a bracha on the tallis cotton when you wake up in the morning. But the Mishnah Berurah says, you know what you should do? When you put on your tallis gadol in shul, and you make a bracha of lehisatev patzitzis, have in mind to pater the tallis cotton that you were wearing all night, which is what we do on a daily basis anyway. We paskin like what we saw earlier in the Mishnah Berurah. We don't make a bracha on the tallis cotton in the morning if we're putting on a tallis in shul. We pater it with the bracha on the tallis gadol. The chol zeh kol zman shaloi pshatai, says the Mishnah Berurah. Obviously, this whole shaila is if you never removed the tallis cotton. Avol im pshatai al dash shaloi loiv shei tekef. But if at some point you did take off the tallis cotton without having das to put it back on very shortly, tzarich levarach achakach kishaloi shel kol yama. What the Mishnah Berurah is saying is like this. You might think, there's an easy way out. You know what it is? I'll wake up in the morning wearing the tallis cotton. Now you're telling me I can't make a bracha because safek brachas lahakal. So I'll take off the tallis cotton without having das to put it right back on. I'll take it off. No, I'm not putting it right back on. Then I'll get busy for 10 minutes. And then I'll put it back on and I'll make a bracha. Says the Mishnah Berurah, no, that's not l'chatchila, because you're being matzrich yourself a bracha she'ein tzricha. You're creating the need for a bracha when you really didn't have to, and we never want to do that. Now the Mishnah Berurah discusses a case that's very negaya. Hayoshen bayoyim shinas hatzarayim. Somebody takes a nap during the day. Umeisir be'alav a tallis cotton. He takes off his tallis cotton. Shabbos afternoon, somebody takes off his tallis cotton and he goes to take a nap. My Rebbe, one of my Rebbeim, Reb Chaim Mintz, stark, he would take great exception to the Bachrim in yeshiva, who he doesn't approve of the idea of Shabbos afternoon naps for yeshiva Bachrim, for younger light really at all. So like you're giving up minutes of Shabbos. Every minute of Shabbos is so kadosh. You could be Isaac, Torah, mitzvahs, everything else on Shabbos. How do you give it up and go take a nap? But certainly in yeshiva, when he would see Bachrim taking a nap in pajamas he would be morally offended. I remember him, saying during a Shabbos Shuvah drasha, all right, you're tired, you lay down a little bit on Shabbos afternoon, but in pajamas? With a kvius? To take a nap on Shabbos afternoon? What is this? He used to say, what is this? An alta menschheim? It's an old age home over here in the yeshiva in the dormitory. What are you doing? But the Mishnah Berurah discusses over here, what if somebody takes a nap in the middle of the day and he takes off his tallis cotton? Do you make a new berachah? Hayashid b'yoyim shinas hatzarayim u'meisa b'yalav tallis cotton. He says, yesh deis ben a paiskim. There's a dispute amongst the paiskim. Im zeh b'chlal hesach hadas. Is this included in hesach hadas? Why? Well, you know that you're taking a short nap, and you're taking off your tallis with the das, that when you get back on, you're going to put it back on again. So you have clear das to take off your tallis cotton for a while, but to put it right back on. So does that mean, like we learned yesterday, we passed like the ogur, you took off your tallis with kavana to put it back on soon, so now you don't have to make another bracha? On the other hand, you went to sleep. When you sleep, you don't have any das. So is sleep automatically a hesach hadas? You're unconscious while you're sleeping. Does that automatically constitute hesach hadas? So he says there's a dispute amongst the paiskim. Al kain, therefore, me'anochain, it would be proper. Shal kol panim yechasa by b'shas hashena. He has an interesting eitzah. Wrap yourself in the tallis cotton while you're sleeping. Then you certainly will not be required to make another bracha when you wake up. I think another time that this is negeya is, let's say, during the summer, somebody goes swimming. So he's wearing his tallis cotton maybe when he goes to the pool, but then he takes off his tallis cotton to go for a swim. So maybe when he takes it off, he has das, beferish das, that he's putting it on again very shortly. He goes for a swim for 15 minutes. He knows he's putting it on right when he gets out of the pool. On the other hand, sometimes you take off the tallis cotton and then you go for a real geschmack swim and maybe you play some ball in the pool and this and that. I would think you have to make another bracha. Okay, we're going to stop over here with the words of the Ramah over here in Sif Tezvav. Thank you so much for joining me for limud HaTorah. The schus of limud HaTorah should be made against Klal Yisrael. The Baruch Hashem should send Yeshua's refuahs parnasa shaduchim to all those in need. We should be zeicher to see the Bias Gal Tzedek b'meher v'yameinu. Amen. Be well.